All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Old Reader, New Reader. I've had special guests today because now that I am the sole host, I'll just be bringing on people that I know forever now. So both of you probably should expect to be called upon again. I guess I'll have you guys introduce yourself. Freddie, if you go first.
Yeah. Freddie, some of you might have seen me on the chat. I have a little blue wrench next to my name.
He's a moderator. He's fancy.
Mhm.
Freddie's often here. And I was like, you know what? Just come on the show. Because we become friends in real life, but not in real life. Like this person we've seen each other like talked out loud, but Facebook friends. So all through YouTube stuff, we would have never met. And Whitney.
Hi, Whitney. I'm a brand new reader, brand spanking new. Just cracked open a comic for the first time.
Which is perfect because, I've been doing Over Your New Reader for like 3 years, which is wild now. And I was very much new, and I'm still new. I still don't know a lot of stuff. But I was like, this is going to be perfect because you're brand new. You've watched the movies. You've read a few comics that I've lent you.
Yeah.
But never a Marvel comic. But you've seen like the Marvel movies.
I've seen, if there's a film, I've seen it for sure. If there's a comic, you'd need to like send it to me to ensure that I've read it. And the more niche, the better. Like I like them real obscure. If you can do that for me, like that would be my gig for sure.
Yeah, I was telling Freddie, like I've lent you The Banks, which you liked, which I was so happy about. I think Laura Dean keeps breaking up with me, which is another favorite of mine. And Sunstone. So really, I hit out of the park on all three of this.
Yeah. Well, there's another one. I just can't think of the name of it, but it's there was a baby on the cover and it was breastfeeding.
Oh, Saga.
Oh. There we go.
Classic. I mean, everyone like that is even non-comic book readers love Saga. That's just like the one. That's the fantasy sci-fi epic. Really. Yeah. So, thanks everybody for showing up. DBZ All-Star, this would be a great old reader, new reader. Thank you. Jaden, I heard Tom King and magically appeared. Carly just got yes. Everyone should read Laura Dean breaking up with me.
So great.
Vision, one of the few stories by Tom, parentheses, mental illness equals character death king. Actually,
oh my God.
How did you hit that spot on, my dude? That is like
nothing missed.
We were literally right before the show. It's like Tom King needs therapy and has never gotten it. He just puts all his characters. So we are talking about Tom King's Vision today. So this is 2 trades. It's still pretty accessible. You can read the first volume for free on Comixology Unlimited if you have that. And if you don't, I think like I bought the first 2 trades digitally for like $6 total. And I figured this would be a good choice since WandaVision has started. I know Whitney's seen it because she watched it with me. Freddie, have you seen WandaVision yet? The first 2?
I did. I watched it right after work and I fell asleep on the first episode, but then I caught up. Yeah.
Okay. I figured this would be a good connection because like when WandaVision first got announced, there was this whole like, super kind of 50s family feel going. I immediately thought about Vision, even though Wanda's not like a main part of it. I was like, this feels very similar. So quick summary before we talk about it. This is Vision basically makes his own family, like literally makes his own robot family. And they get a house in the suburbs. So it's very nuclear family. So like Vision and then his wife, Virginia, and then the 2 kids, the boy and girl, who are teenagers. And it's outside of DC because he's working at the White House now, not really getting paid. And he's just trying to do like a normal life thing. And we start to figure out why later. But basically it doesn't go as planned. What a surprise. There's a lot of death in here, accidental or on purpose. And a lot of, like Jaden said, some mental illness issues. And just kind of figuring out about themselves and how they're treated negatively because of how they look. And also just dealing with regular life things. Because even though they're robots, they deal with things in such a very typical family way.
Yeah.
I am the senior reader now. I think Freddie's probably more senior than me as far as reading, but maybe. Yeah, so that's the quick and dirty of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure we can jump in. I'd love to start with Whitney. Ask like, what was your like? We'll get into like specifics about like scenes and stuff, but so your first Marvel comic. What was your first like? What's your overall impression of this? Like, was this hard to follow for you? Because this, it's a standalone. It should be reader friendly, but you have no working knowledge of the comic universe at all. So like,
No.
like for you reading it.
For me reading it without having any kind of backstory to it and just kind of jumping in, it felt very much like I always equate it to how I watch films when you jump into where the action is all of a sudden and you're like, wait, what happened before he just created this nuclear family and dropped off in the suburbs? But I kind of liked not knowing that because I was like, oh, this is going to be a journey. We're going to really get to see what goes on. And my first impression of it was very easy to kind of go through. And I enjoyed that, even though they were synthezoids or robots, they made sure, okay, it's dinner conversation time, like not dinner, we're having a conversation
right
at the dinner time because we don't eat. You guys are going to go to school. Why are we sending the kids to school? They're zoids. They don't need the knowledge. And he's like, no, they got to learn. They have to learn that other things happen, emotions. They have to gauge things. I was like, oh my gosh, he's speaking so much knowledge. Oh, this is great. Where is this going to go? And I was like the wife, like, y'all are freaking robots. Just upload it into their memory and let it ride. And she's like, no. He was like, you all have to become what you are, which is the family. And your different roles. Like you as a mother, you have to worry about them because they're not there. But I definitely think overall, like, very easy to follow as a new reader and no knowledge of it. It almost, you read it and it interests you in a way to be like, okay, there's this whole universe. This is 2% of it. Where's the other 98? When I finish this, somebody find me the rest.
That's what I like to hear. Yeah. Because luckily, 2 of these people survive. It could be in other comics. So that's great. So Freddie, what was it like rereading this for you? Like,
yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know. A lot of caffeine. Maybe not this, but
well, it's strange because when I first read this, it was just when I was expanding my comics. Because I started with that one right there. Whoop, you see, mirroring's weird. Spider-Man, Fallout number 4. That's Miles Morales' first appearance, and then he joins this team, which has Vision on it. This is what was taking place around Tom King's run. And, I decided like, okay, I'm going to expand. I'm going to follow everybody who's on the team. And this one has zero to do with anything else that's going on basically in the Marvel universe because it's so self-contained. Even the other character that survives doesn't show up for a very long time. And the first issue, you forget, it's so wordy.
It is.
Like, he's trying to make himself seem so intellectual. Then when you get to the end of it, you don't even notice it's gone.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And that's so Tom King also.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed, like, I think this is a great it's a great story for even non-comic readers because I think there's like, yeah, you could have this story and have it have nothing to do with the Marvel universe at all, right? Just a robot that's been created by something who wants to have some semblance of humanity in his life, some like normalcy, and he makes this family, but they all have their own issues because maybe you don't make a robot with your ex-wife's brain patterns. That's weird. Maybe don't do that. And it was weird that she suggested it.
And it's so weird because this happens in issue 7. And when she gives it to him, she's with Wonder Man, and who's the brain patterns that Vision has. and it doesn't work out with them either. We all know this did not work out. And then, he decides, oh, I'm gonna do this. It didn't work out for her with my original, but maybe it'll work out for us.
Maybe you just date somebody different. You don't.
I feel like that was their way of both saying they weren't ready to let go. And it was kind of like, oh, you really should have. You really should have started. If you're going to start a whole new family, like start from scratch. Maybe not take like an entire other family's identity either. And
that's absolutely what happened. Mm-hmm. And so like, luckily there is this issue in there that's a different artist, which I really liked his artwork in that one. I like the art throughout, but I thought this was very complimentary. That issue where it's like the background of Vision and Wanda, which does a very it's a very quick description of what has happened with the two of them, which is complicated and it's hard to catch all of it. But for me to give you a little bit of background in case you didn't catch it or people in the chat didn't, basically in the past, Vision and Wanda were together. They were really happy. But things happened and Wanda went crazy, as Wanda does and has done in the comic books. And she created this whole reality and just created children. And everyone's like, Wanda, they're not real. We're going to talk about this and she doesn't. She F's up the whole world, basically. And things don't work out for them. Eventually, Vision, something happens with him. He becomes emotionless. They break up. He gets his memory back as if it was comics are basically a soap opera. Mm. But by the time he gets his memories back, she's with Wonder Man, which dating the guy whose brain patterns were from your, what I mean? It's just, she's doing it again. They're all doing it. And it's a mess. And also you give your ex-husband this plant that was a wedding. It was just weird. It's like, girl, no. But I think what I really liked was I love the kids and I love the family interactions a lot because even though it's weird and robot, it's so realistic.
Yeah.
Like the way that the mother talks, I really liked that whole part where she, going back to tell me again why the kids have to go to school. And he's like, it seems like a waste of effort for me to go back in my memory banks and replay that to you. Didn't you hear me? And she's like, no, I just need you to reiterate why you thought it was a good idea because it's not. Their little family spats.
Yeah.
The robot arguing was intensely funny and also so realistic in that they were saying it so formally, but it was the equivalent of, you really want me to repeat what I just said to you? We've had this conversation before. And it was like, yes, repeat it. I'm asking you legitimately instead of yes, please. Instead of whining, they were just talking to each other the same monochromatic tone. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best arguing I've ever heard in my life. And I'm reading this, but I want to hear it live and in person.
Well, yeah. And the kids were so accurate. Hey mom, I told you to knock before phasing into my room. Or
yeah. And her explanation, I am coded to be a 16-year-old. And then she's I'm coded to be a adult. So I will do what I want.
Right. Exactly. Hey, have you looked for our daughter? She's like, yeah, I've looked. I'm coded to be an adult. You think I didn't check for where my son is? And that was, there's some really heartbreaking stuff in here too. And number one, trigger warning for the comic book, everybody, but there's some animal cruelty in there that I forgot about. Maybe my mind was like, let's forget about it. It never happened. And Tom King went real hard on that in this book. Real hard. And I was confused when the first one happened because it was a cat and then a panther, and I didn't understand that. But
yeah, I
think dog violence, I was like.
Well, I feel like in all of because how I read it, so I read it online in a guided view, electronically, and it would show panel by panel. So for me, it was always a surprise, boom, the daughter, Grim Reapered, and then the son
very early on.
Immediately, I was like, oh my gosh, we just met this family. Oh wait, she's about to die, but almost. And I was like, oh my god, I don't know where I'm at anymore. They have to fight for their lives. There's threats like this. Oh, okay. Dang it, Vision. You can't just make a family, man, and make super annoying names. Vision, Vivian, Viv, Vin. What? Come on.
Virginia.
Yeah,
Virginia. Well,
I already gave up. Remembering all of them.
been one and
Marcella,
been
what's wrong with
two.
making people the old-fashioned way?
Well,
I mean,
you're an android.
yeah, they do get it on though, which was
Yeah, so can they make people the old-fashioned way? Valid point, because when that whole moment happened, I said, wait, so you had to make your kids, but you can make kids? Or no?
well, no, they make their kids the old-fashioned way, but they still bump uglies. So even though they're robots, they're still into bumping uglies. So I was surprised.
All right. Well, whatever they can do.
The way these robots mirror humans goes in hard on my ex's brainwaves, who hasn't tried to fill the void with a new partner that's similar or made the same mistakes again with a new person. Jessica, that's too real. I hadn't asked to be called out like this on live.
Well, oh gosh, what is that? How's that phrasing go? Insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. How you gonna use the same person's like thing and think it's gonna turn out differently?
I think you cracked the Marvel universe. That's like the perfect phrase to describe all of Marvel history.
Honestly, all of them. They don't seem like they make the best decisions for themselves. They all seem really clinging to the past and that they don't look forward. They just, it's right, it's here or backwards or behind them.
So how did you all feel? I think one part I really liked was, the Virginia's mind is slowly like, she's obviously losing coherency significantly throughout the book. And you start to see like the decline. Now, I'm assuming part of that's because she used Wanda's brainwaves. Again, a mistake. The woman's crazy. Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't say crazy. The woman had some mental incapacities, right?
Neurodiverse.
Yeah, I should say, as a fellow neurodiverse person, I use the correct language. But we see this happen with her in a really interesting way, right? Because you just kind of see it happen and her just continue to lie and cover stuff up and get worse. What do you all think about that?
Well, when I found out about it, like I already knew about No More Mutants, and I was like, oof, we are not going down a good path for these last 5 issues, and it was not.
Yeah. I did like about I think that the twist at the end was really fulfilling. So this is spoilers, which I think people who are regularly watching know. There's no way around it.
And we've done it already.
Yeah, but I watch a lot of thrillers and whodunits and mysteries. I think this was a very if this was a movie, it would translate well. Yeah. Because throughout the story, you see Virginia continuing to do things, and Vision just kind of support her or lie for her, which is very unVision-like. He's an Avenger. He even brings up earlier, I saved the world 37 times or whatever, which I loved. I think that was such a good bit too, which we can talk more after. 1 second. Elliot said, why haven't they written the story of Vision becoming an optometrist? You're the worst.
Bruh.
But so you have the first murder, which I think is self-defense, really, where that guy comes in to murder the family, and Virginia straight up just beats him to death with a baking sheet, which is great. A baking sheet she returns later, which is
she returns when the house looks a freaking shambles. He walks in hey, have you seen our dog? Which they can't say, oh yeah, the dog bit the man I buried in the backyard and is lost his shit and is dead. But here's your bent as shit cookie sheet.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Virginia, you were really trying to hold steadfast to the I'm the mom of the house and I have to be a good hostess for a man who's come by and asked questions.
Which is so good.
That was such a good line when she says, you don't believe me? Come, have a look. My whole house is destroyed. Your dog isn't here.
She was very open and I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide. I should hide everything, but I'm hiding nothing.
She had like the most depression house ever. You know, I think a lot of people in quarantine can relate. Like, yeah, you can come on in. Everything's a wreck. I found this one baking sheet you borrowed 5 years ago. Here you go. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Just like total meltdown.
Yeah,
but she's
like
planned this whole thing, which is so cool because at the end, you realize like the reason why Vision has acted the way he has throughout the series is because she's just been like, while he's asleep, you know, work like changing his circuits around to make him forget things. So, or remember them differently. Like, oh no, my wife was here the whole time. And you think that he's just doing the fatherly thing. And then later on, after his son dies, he's like, I'm going to murder that kid. He's my brother, but I'm going to murder him. And it would be great if you obliged that, but I don't care if you do or not. I forgot the way he said it was so cool. He's like, like, sure, you can stop me if you want. I prefer if you try to work with me, but I'll just get you out of my way. And she did that just so she could sneak in. It was just brilliant. She's like, I can't fight all the Avengers.
Well,
but I can make him do it.
I'm with Marcelo on this, on the chat. I think that, although that's such a good thing, that like it's the brilliance of Tom King, that either you could go with that was a lie or that she actually did those things.
Oh, that's
either
true.
way, it's still very impactful.
Oh yeah. Virginia took Gaslighting to a new level. But yeah, I love the way it was put together. You know, it showed that, I don't know, like just how broken she is, but how dedicated she is to everything too, and to him and the family. Like, I don't know, it's just interesting. I guess it's the whole coded to be an adult or in a mother, right? But to see her like really go out of her way. But yeah, it's just beautifully. It was, and I flip-flop on Tom King. Anyone who's watched me on here knows that.
And you know what? I'm not a Tom King fan because, and I am failing at this. You know, I have the Vision on hardcover, and I had the single issues. This is hip hop cover. This is his after the war book, Sheriff of Babylon. It takes place in Iraq, Afghanistan. I am Baghdad. I am very bad at this. Omega Man, which you reviewed on the channel. And of course, Mr. Miracle. So not a Tom King fan. I don't have his Batman.
I do his Batman run.
In fact, let me show off because someone was talking about the hardcover, and
I love the cover, both the covers.
Yeah, the cover looks great.
This is from issue 12. Yeah, from issue 12. It's oh, I'm sorry. So it's meant to look like it's all destroyed from water damage on the back, but this is actually a new book. You know, because let me actually find the real issue 12. And I am still highlighted while I'm flipping, so that's weird.
Sorry. I know, I've been this up you.
No, it's okay. Oh, no, I'm so bad at this.
Oh, you're fine. Elliot says, I wish I was coded as an adult. Or my voice.
Same. Honestly, same, because literally it just seemed like they always had all the answers.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I love that cover.
The book.
I love it. It's like a family album look.
And doesn't even say Vision here, it just says family album.
Oh my God, I love that.
So, family precious memories. Yeah. Most precious memories.
Now I wish I had the hardcover.
I think it's out of print, but the complete collection just came back into print. So people can own it, but you will be missing out on half the book being extras.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because there's character designs and covers. Let's see. He also put the script translating into.
That's so cool.
And there's a very nice little afterword in the end where he takes you through the whole process, and they even include, which is very rare even in omnibuses, which is Marvel.com little essays about when they were dropping issue to issue. So that's pretty cool.
That's so cool. I love that. And I love the covers in this. I don't know if you had a
By
chance to see
Mike
it because I put in the covers and like the comicsology, but like there's always in comic book world, there's like a regular cover and sometimes a variant, so people will buy more. And man, I thought the series had great covers. Of course, they had a lot to play with the family aspect. Like, it's so good, so much fun. Trent, Heroes in Crisis is your favorite book ever, right, Maddie? Trent. Whitney won't get that, but Heroes in Crisis is a book Tom King wrote where he killed my husband, and I haven't gotten over it. It's been like 2 years. It's been 2 years, and I'm still upset.
The grieving process is long.
I have a signed copy of an issue where he said, sorry about Roy, Tom King. I was like, Marcel said, half the book is extras. I was both disappointed and happy for it.
But see, it doesn't really cost that much. Like, it's $39.99. So
that's not
maybe
bad.
Yeah, no, like a typical oversized hardcover is what, $34.99?
Yeah.
So $5 for half, for like almost an extra whole book of extras. Sure.
That's so good.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh man, we're gonna end up finishing early. I chose a shorter run because I'm reading 1,000 chapters of this manga this month, which I'm probably not gonna finish. So I need something shorter. Plus work is busy. But any other scenes that like really come to mind that you really enjoyed?
I enjoy Vin's obsession with Shakespeare. Yeah. I enjoyed that he like Vision said, he wanted the kids to go to school and like, be kids, like real type of kids. And I thought there was nothing kind of cuter than Vin getting into this whole idea of justice and revenge in a Shakespearean tale and like reciting it all over the place. And then what was interesting too is when Victor shows up and he's like, so Vin, you seem to do Shakespeare like a lot, like every day.
He starts it off right with like the, hey, I know what you're doing upstairs.
Yeah.
Everyone can hear you. And so the whole readers were like,
the allegory is just so beautiful. And they do it again with the drugs and vibranium. It was like so
yes.
Great.
That's the other thing, because when with the vibranium, when he talked about it, he's like, yeah, it's sort of like run out, or like it doesn't feel as strong anymore. And I was like, oh, he's hooked, he's addicted, it's bad. I said, if vibranium's not working for you, my dude, vibranium, quit, you have to stop. But yeah, it was definitely the Shakespeare and the vibranium. I think those are my two favorite things. I really enjoyed, if I had picked a favorite person, it was Vin. Mm-hmm. And then I really enjoyed when Victor showed up, even though like their like end scene together was so sad. I really hated that part.
Oh, it was awful because like they were so similar, which I liked seeing them talk. And it reminds me of like fellow neurodiverse friends, because they both talk about obsessions the same way. Where he's like, hey, you can't just be about Shakespeare. You have to do other things. Because like he's like, similarly, I could have just, dealt with this creator all the time. And that's all I do. And I still check it out every day, but like it can't be my only thing. You have to do other stuff. And I was like called out. Because it just felt very accurate. And they're both still very young. Because even though Victor is kind of different, he's still like he presents himself as like a youth. Right? Like a younger brother of Vision.
He seemed like a code switcher though, from like an adult to a kid, because he would be with Vision and he would be like, brother, and he would talk so intelligently, and like he would seem like he was Vision's older brother, not the younger
brother. This is the scene where they're talking about masturbation. I mean Shakespeare. And there's also a really great scene, like Victor had the best scenes with the whole family.
Oh gosh.
When he goes, because there's some gun violence that happens in this book, and a fellow student of Viv's dies.
Yeah.
And she feels this weird connection with him after he's dead, and she decides to go down and see his corpse. It's just,
well, it makes sense too, because like he he's like the only one she had a connection with, and he died the next day.
And this is like their first. And this is like their first real connection with death, because they see the Grim Reaper dying, and they almost all die. They all have PTSD throughout the book.
Yeah,
and you can see it with Virginia getting a glitch near the end, and Viv just gets stuck in a loop, calling out for her mother, and Tony Stark has some of the best moments here when Vision says, "If you stop helping me save my daughter's life, I will kill you. You are my friend, but I will kill you."
Love that. Just the way that it was so good. Like, I really enjoyed exploring Vision's character a lot through this, especially because like I really like the beginning a lot, because he talks about how, like, I was an Avenger, still an Avenger. I talking to the principal was one section where he's like, I saved the world 37 times, and he goes to and names it. And he's like, and still, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I've done. It can be unraveled by one little thing because I'm different.
Yep.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what I do. He's like, and I don't get paid either. He's like, I'm just doing this stuff. It's like people don't consider me to be an actual person because I'm a robot. But like, no one really sees me as their equal because of this. No matter what I do, no matter how much good, I'm always going to be the other. And they also tie that in with like the speech about Jews as well throughout. They're trying to like do an allegory with that. And it's just, oh man. And also that scene where the kids vandalize the house. And they have that,
I was thinking about that one.
They look through the internet and the dictionary, try to find a good word for robots that would be derogatory that they could use against them. Because that's what people do when they don't like people.
Yeah.
And they chose a very odd one. What was it?
Pocket.
Synth pocket? Something.
No. It was like
it's something
Sprocket lover or
socket lover. Socket lover.
Yeah.
Which I love when Mom came out. She was just like hand out while the kid wasn't paying attention, just rammed up against. She was.
Why can't we all do that?
I want to phase through stuff. It's so cool. And they went from being loved and enjoyed by the community to being feared very quickly.
Very quickly.
Well, it just took those few instances for each person.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, when you're an android, people will see you differently. And it's also interesting that, and not mentioned anywhere in the book, that Scarlet Witch is Romani Jewish. And then you add that to the speech that about Jews going off for the book, and you're like, well, okay, they could have connected this a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I think he could have probably chosen somebody else to connect them to, but it's, Tom King really wanted to make sure that we really got it.
Yeah, sometimes he'll go a little over the top.
Sorry. Trent said, to be fair to Tom King, I was an intel recon in the Air Force and it's highly frowned upon to get mental help while in the service. And I would imagine CIA is similar. He does need to get some help now, though. Trent, this is something that my friend Lee and I talk about a lot, because my friend Lee is in security. What am I trying to say? Anyways, he's in contract work, and I too came from like a intelligence work background in my studies. And we talk a lot about how there's no mental health support. And so I think that ties a lot into Tom King's work. And if you go back and watch our Heroes in Crisis review, we talk about that at length, because it seems to be a correlation about the way Tom King's protagonists deal with their mental health issues, which tends to be in a way that is not helpful and often tends to be violent. And it's interesting to see how that happens over and over and over again. With Batman, especially with Mr. Miracle, with Wally West, it's just over and over and over again. But it's still very interesting.
I think it's kind of obvious when he did Mr. Miracle that he wasn't yet in therapy, and then maybe Heroes in Crisis was born from his first session. Like, oh, this is a comic.
I'll put it into here. Social commentary, fairy telling, character analysis, so much going on with this story. Yeah.
There is.
Elliot, the comic does not explore what he has going on down there, but we can assume
Mm-hmm.
through the bedroom scene that there's something.
Yeah, Ultron really went all the way with them.
Ultron want to make sure he's packing.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't going to let him hang like that, you know? He's going to make sure.
So I should have done this before we went live, but I just scrolled through some scenes, and this is the scene with the Grim Reaper when he kills when he tries to kill the Visions because they're his fake family, because he's the brother of Simon, Wonder Man. And then here's the scene with Tony Stark where he's like, "I will kill you."
I love that scene. It's so good.
It's such a great scene, and the whole all of the art is by most of the art is by Kevin Walter except issue 7, which is by Michael Walsh, and it has the benefit of still having Jodie Belair as the colorist, so you can't almost notice it.
Oh yeah, no, I think it flowed really well.
This is the little action scene right here.
Oh, and then the cat.
And the cat. Oops, my bad.
That happened so fast.
I know, it made me sad.
And we also didn't talk about the narration, which helps move the story throughout and catch you up, because right here you have Victor Mancha's whole backstory.
Oh, so good.
When he came from the Runaways, which is on Hulu, guys, and it's so good.
It is good. Whitney, you'd like it.
I've bookmarked it. I've been recommended a few times, so she's on the list.
What do you all think about? What do y'all think about the art? Like the art and the cut, because we just talked about. You just mentioned the artist and the colorist. What do y'all think about that? Whitney, especially, because this is, it's a format you don't often foray into. So, how did you feel about even the speech bubbles and things like that? Because they were very distinct.
Well, I appreciated that, especially when it was like telling the story, but not the characters talking. I like to have that differentiation. And then when it jumped into background to basically be like, okay, we're going to start telling this person's story. Or when it was like Vision recalling his 37 times he saved. And I was like, okay, wait, am I in Vision's mind or am I paying attention to when he's in the interrogation? But I love the art. I really liked I like the colors that the Visions are. I like the maroon red and then the green fight, because they're two pretty dark, aggressive colors, but they were kind of warm and inviting at the same time, because you were just trying to be invested in them as a family. That they warmed over time, even though the coloring was kind of harsh. To me, it was kind of like trying to drag it down, but they were trying to keep it really light with like the dialogue and how things were moving. Yeah, it's just those are kind of thoughts I had with like the artwork of stuff. And then if it changed to like the Avengers, it got really bright. It got like really bright and like, this is the group and they're here to do what they're gonna do. Or if it was telling like Victor's story, it was always like blue hues and like really like I'm a Vision, but I'm a different type of Vision.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, I love the art. I thought it was great. And I even liked a lot of comic books have an issue when there's a single issue where they change the artist, it can be really jarring. Because comics tend to do that. They want to give the artist time, right? Or they need a filler or something. But sometimes it can be so different that it doesn't feel like it's a part of it. And I really felt like this, if it fit perfectly. And I think Freddie's right, because the colors as well, that helped a lot. But the art style really fit too. It just made sense. It was enough to be like, hey, this is a different thing. This is a backstory. This is a flashback. But it's obviously still part of it. I thought it was beautiful throughout.
Yeah, it reminded me of Michael Allred on Silver Surfer. Like, it's not an art you're used to seeing, and it takes you a little bit of time to appreciate. But once you're into it, you're into it. And Allred said about Silver Surfer that he didn't want to leave spots for a guest artist. And that's what it felt like to me, issue 7, which was the whole recap issue where you're going through their entire relationship and every little thing that's happened. Well, not every little thing, but every huge thing that marked their relationship, from Vision dying and coming back to being entire blank robot to that really wonderful moment when he tells Wanda they're not real. And then it goes back to that cute little moment they had in the beginning of the issue where he's like, do you need me to raise my voice?
Oh yeah, that was so cute. I love the little joke thing too. It was perfect. You had that joke with like, hey, Nadia Van Dyne, not Nadia, whatever. Van Dyne told me this joke. What do you think about it? And she's like, that's hilarious. And he tells it to Virginia, and she does it.
I'll look back in a second. But here's the
Nothing.
Here's the colorful little Avengers.
Yeah.
It's so very bright, and then here's near the end.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh,
totally dark.
her death was so good.
Well,
It
she
was-
slowly descended into madness because, I mean, after that first kill, where she just like flat out lied, because that part I was like, girl, he came in your house, he destroyed your place. You should have said, yeah, I killed that dude. He came up in my house and tried to kill our daughter. That bothered
It's
me more
Marvel.
than I
You can kill
wanted
people
to
in
say.
Marvel.
It just really bothered me. I was like, y'all are not in hiding. Everyone knows that you're androids.
You didn't even try.
No. But you know, both kids, when they were dying or near death, they were calling the parent their
Your mother.
yeah, she called her mother, he called his father.
It was just, so heartbreaking.
It's so heartbreaking. And then here's a little joke scene with the original time he tells it, which I think this is the first time they slept together. That's what it really seemed to me, because afterwards it goes to the very
Making
cute
out. Well,
making out.
oh, it's so cute.
Yeah. So awkwardly, they're like, well, I guess I just did something with an android. And then he retells that joke to his wife, and it's just, look at that.
They're so separate. It's so sad. Just the name of Tom King reminds me of Alfred. There are many fans of Tom King's vision in Korea. It's a well-translated piece. I enjoy Mr. Miracle more. I also enjoyed Mr. Miracle more. But that's like my all-time. Oh, that's my favorite Tom King. But maybe it's because Big Bart is there and she's very tall and muscular. I just think she's neat.
And another impactful moment is when Viv is praying.
That was
Yes.
Do androids sleep or do they pray? Maybe both.
well, and yeah, and it was cute because it was like, hey, do you want to join me? It's like, yeah, I'll join you.
Mhm.
She's like, the existence of God is very unlikely. It's like, yes, it is unlikely.
Yeah.
And the likelihood that he has a soul is also very unlikely. Yeah, you're right. But they still pray, like just in case there's something.
Right.
I really enjoyed that because it was just that whole having faith, even if you aren't sure you know what faith means to you. And like they're androids. What would they know? Like they were literally created. So I thought that was really humanizing.
Yeah.
Just that doubt and then the hope. And then saying, we're just going to put our faith in this. Who knows? It may just make us feel better if nothing else happens. We just feel better about what's gone on.
Yeah,
Just
and their
better
prayer,
safe than sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I pray that there is a God, and then I
Yeah.
pray that this is happening, that this good thing comes along.
Mhm.
It's very
So heartbreaking.
It kind of sets it up too that it's just going to be the two of them, because I can't remember when that I know the mother was still there, but
Yeah.
it very much set the tone of it may just be the two of us or one of us going forward. Like it was just going to be so I was like, oh, the mom's going to do something. Like it kind of told me something was going to happen with her. I just didn't know what.
Yeah, I love the way she went about it. I mean, you shouldn't use your husband like that, but it was such a long plan. I love stuff like that where you get to the end, she does something, she's like, this is why I did it. This is how I did it. I love stuff like that.
Or alternatively, she was protecting like her husband.
Oh, that's true.
Oh no, I think she did it.
She ate the pedal.
I think
She
she
did.
did.
So,
After she killed the dog, which was something I didn't expect, that she still had Wanda's memories.
yeah. Well, and she even said early on, like, when the kids are at school and Vision's away, I don't do anything except for sit there and go in like the deep, deep recesses of my preloaded memories. And I always find something that makes me cry. So of course she's gonna become like this, right? Because she knows what it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically, you've been given this woman's memories of where they were madly in love and the things that they've gone through, and probably adopted Wanda's overprotectiveness of her imaginary children.
And a persecuted person, because she's not just Romani Jewish, she's also a mutant, or
Right.
was retcons.
Not in movies.
She was the daughter of Magneto, or so she thought when she gave him the little stick with her brain patterns. So this person clearly has some problems, and I always thought that was why he was lying. He was trying not to trigger that little moment, like, oh, if I can keep her in this little pocket of sunshine and happiness, maybe she won't go mad.
Yeah.
Maybe that's also why she didn't tell anyone when she killed the Grim Reaper. It's like, well, I'm gonna get persecuted if I do this. The rules aren't the same for an android.
I could see him trying to make up for past mistakes with her too, and like, well, I know what happened to Wanda. Maybe I can make it this time so it doesn't happen like this. Which failed. But you got a daughter out of it, and she's cool, and she's doing superhero things,
Right, like I should have brought those out. I did not. If anyone wants to follow these other survivor of the series, it's Viv. She's in the champions, both Wade's and Subs and Ewing's current run.
So when you like champions is kind of like Young Avengers.
Okay.
Right.
So like a lot of people that you're gonna see in the new live action stuff were in champions, like Miss Marvel. Which I cannot wait until you get to like see all that Miss Marvel is. Oh, you should come on and we should read Miss Marvel, because she is everything. She's a superhero fanatic, loves fan fiction. She's hilarious. And she gets powers one day.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
It's very good.
So
this universe is slowly and surely expanding.
It does. Like, I would recommend Wade's All New, All Different Avengers. This gets called the PC Avengers.
Even better. When sometimes people in the comic book world, I know you're going to be surprised about this. When they introduce characters that are diverse, they get real mad about it.
They do.
And they tell me I'm too woke.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, it's funny that this gets called the PC Avengers. Meanwhile, Uncanny Avengers is the United group, where it's like, oh, we're trying to bridge together mutants and Inhumans and Avengers. And then this one is like, oh, you got people of color? Yeah, that's PC.
You always. I'm sorry, Whitney. There's a lot of great creators out there. There's just also a very loud minority that's just very angry about diversity in comics.
But I think that's important to remember. It is a minority. They're just very loud.
They're very loud.
Hey, they live to argue. Let them be there for it.
But from this Avengers splits the champions, because here you have Sam Alexander Nova, who's half Latino. You have Miles Morales, the Afro-Latino, and then you have Miss Marvel, the Pakistani superhero, and they're all teenagers, and they all make their own group. It's very cool when they quit, because they quit being Avengers to form their own group. Like, we're at the top of the superhero game, and we're like, nah, not for us.
Well,
I think you'd like it. I want to introduce you to all the younger superheroes, because they're so fun. They're all great. Like, ugh.
It just sounds like the younger superhero class is definitely, I feel like, more relatable for the times that we live in. And that sounds so interesting to me. And don't get me wrong, all the classic comics I've ever heard about also sound great. But why not be able to relate to the material that you read or that you get invested in? Like, that's what's going to, if anything, if I start with that and then go deep dive, then I'm just like, you know what? At least there's a comic for me. If I do like the older ones, great. If I don't, I can always go back to the good olds that are brand new.
You're our kind of person, Whitney.
Yeah.
No, and I've always felt the same way. And luckily, I think that's why, Marvel is bringing in a lot of these same characters to the live action, right? Or like to the newer movies and stuff. So super excited. A lot of the cartoons lately have been with all this crew, which is wonderful. All these like young, diverse superheroes. A lot of these cartoons are that. And then we're getting a Miss Marvel show, which already looks great. And we got Miles Morales, right? And in Spider-Verse, which was fantastic.
I could read more about Miles Morales. I'd be fine with that. He
Good.
was great.
We're gonna get this trio back together again. And we're gonna read some of this.
I've been trying to get Maddie and Kristen to read it on their other show.
Well, I'll add it on this one.
But you have read the first run on this show, so
Of Miles.
yeah.
Yeah.
The next up is this omnibus when he's in the 616 universe.
I'll read
That
it.
thing is thick.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna mention earlier.
Welcome
Because
to
oversized hardcover, and then you have this omnibus. And
I get to be a reader again. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
Yay! So I guess okay. So does reading vision, which is a very small amount, make you want to read more?
Oh hell yes. That was never like a no thing. Like
Yes.
I feel like it's weird to say this was an assignment. It was you asked me and I said, yes, I would love to read something. So yes, you would assign it to me in a way, but you haven't really steered me wrong yet when it comes to reading material.
Good.
I felt very confident in everything you've like thrown at me as like, just try it, see how it feels on you. And I'm like, maybe I'm just trying to be into it to be polite. I'm like, no, I'm actually really enjoying this stuff. And I think it's such a cool world to like dive into and become a part of.
That makes me so happy. I get to be the old reader now. I'm like,
well, that's the thing. You get to be, you're an old reader as long as you bring in a novice. You're the one with the knowledge. So think about it. Me a year from now, I could bring in somebody new to you and be like, oh, I'm old hat at this. This is fine. Because believe me, let me read enough comics and I will claim old hat. I don't care who judges me. I will claim elder status as long as I bring in somebody who's never even cracked open a comic.
I love it. I'm so excited. So next question, before we get to like the chill end of the show, where we just chat with the chat. We are required, as per the show rules, to give us a rating out of 10.
Okay.
I'll start. I would give it a 9. Actually, you know what? No, I give it a 10. I don't have anything wrong with this. I don't know why I give anything less. I think I give it a 10. I think it's a very solid book.
Mm-hmm.
It does what it sets out to do, which is easy to do when it's very like a shorter series. Or easier. It's easier to do this, especially with Tom King. He's good with shorter. Somebody else said that in the chat. I think 10 out of 10. I really liked it.
Okay, I'll go. We'll put 10 out of 10. Because I remember when this was coming out, and it's like, maybe it's that, I don't want to say nostalgic feel. This is like 5-6-year-old run, but man, like I remember everything coming out as I was reading this. And the letter pages are even included in the OHC. So it was like, oh, there's a funny thing where you don't even notice because they fixed it, that Nora, the neighbor, they accidentally changed her name to Martha in one issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's probably that was when Batman vs Superman was coming out, and Tom King just flat out forgot her name.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's too funny.
And they had a contest named Sparky, and yeah.
That's so funny. Whitney?
Well, it's just a 10. Like I didn't have any qualms, but also I would have nothing really to compare it to. But just as the story itself has how it progressed and how it went along and how we got bits of the past to kind of fill in where the story was going. For me, it did what it needed to do. It got me invested and made me curious to read other things. Even if it picked back up and said we got more story to tell, I'd be like, yes, I believe you. Pick it up. Let's do this. If it said it ended there, I'm like, okay, fine, it ended. I'll remain curious, but I'll respect that it ended there. So for me, I think it was it's a good comic for someone to read, to start out with, for a new reader.
I have a good book, especially comic book wise. If it ends and you're like, I would like more. I'd like to explore this. Then it did its job.
And speaking of the end, actually, I have it marked here. We find out in 2 times that there are 2 different narrators. The first one was Agatha Harkness, and the second one was Scarlet Witch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And, right, the first time was when Agatha was in the meeting with the Avengers. That's the whole narration we were going through, that was her telling the Avengers, this is what happened. And then this is Scarlet Witch speaking to Viv, who just survived all of the events.
Oh,
and
she's
she's
so
like,
sweet
okay.
that she was there for her.
And we see Sparky come back because, you know,
Yeah.
Virginia straight out.
I was so
Sparky.
glad because, man, you had to kill Sparky twice. It's like, come on.
Literally, the dog couldn't
And
catch a break.
This was mentioned in the chat, so I'm just gonna flat out spoil it. The last page, which is Viv has a robot, which we don't know who that is. That could be Victor. That could be Virginia. That could be a new son, a new wife. It's a very chilling page once you get there.
So
If
let's
it's a
check out.
new one, he needs to start from scratch.
I'm gonna move myself to the
And
bottom so I don't cover everybody else's faces. James says, Whitney, you might be in danger. Maggie's trying to get you to fall down the rabbit hole of Marvel comic, and once you fall in love with it, she'll introduce you to the world of manga. I mean, probably, yeah.
May I ask a non-stupid question? Because I'm not going to judge myself.
Right.
What is that?
Okay,
Manga.
so manga is Japanese. It's like the word for Japanese comics.
Okay. Would there be one that would there be one that is well known that
Absolutely.
I would know by its name?
Yeah,
Sailor Moon.
One Piece,
Okay.
Naruto.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Boyfriend
most
in college was obsessed with Naruto.
yeah, so most
Obsessed.
anime has a manga.
Okay.
Like it's like from a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I could absolutely recommend you a bunch.
I could fall in the rabbit hole of any and everything, honestly. I just need the right enabler. But this is all strictly speaking things that are safe to consume. I'm not talking anything outside of books and entertainment.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why we're such close friends. It's because you consume media the way that I do. So I just only know time.
Just rapidly and furiously. I don't understand how we have fully functioning jobs.
I have no idea how we do anything at work. I talked to the kids about Miles Morales. They seem shocked that there was a time when folks lost their minds that anyone but Peter Parker or another white dude was Spider-Man.
But that's not entirely true, because in the 90s we had Miguel, who was Mexican, Spider-Man 2099. Nobody lost their shit in the 90s, but now it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone was way too chill in the 90s to give a excuse my
it's
the
fine.
word insert here. No,
it's
everyone
right. We can say the F word if we want.
No, the 90s was weirdly chill in that kind of way. I feel like nothing flared in terms of if things changed. They waited till the 2000s to be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Why
did you do that? Why?
No, I even mentioned this in an old reader, new reader, which was that there's a very famous issue of Spider-Man, which is The Boy Who Collects Spider-Man. And in the 90s series, they didn't have the little white kid. They put a Latina. And nobody lost their shit when that happened. But it's like, if that happened now, if the current Spider-Man changed that story so that instead of a little boy, it is a little Latina, you would not hear the end of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the internet's just loud now. I don't know. Jason says, overall, give the story 9 out of 10. Tom King still in the hit list, right next to the other overpaid hacks, Bendis and Dan Slott. Jessica gives us 10 out of 10. My favorite Tom King. Sorry to my mistress and Maddie's wife, Barda. That's fine. Mr. Miracle's a 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10. The only downside, of course, is the animal cruelty, which was explicit.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Hopefully I just forget about it again.
But at least, Sparky made it out. He had to die twice. He made it out.
Ugh. We have a couple 9 out of 10s. Ironcaster says, this is my favorite part of the hobby, introducing new people to these runs or characters. Introducing new people to something generally good. Absolutely. I love being introduced to new things, and I love introducing people to things. It just warms my heart. It gets me so excited because, some people, they're like, oh, you haven't read this, you haven't seen this, what are you doing? But for me, it's like, oh, you haven't read this? I'm so excited for you. I'm really excited for you to go on this journey. I'm just like, yes. It makes me so happy.
And if anyone, I'm talking off screen now, my bad.
You're okay.
If if anyone is actually interested in Victor, he does come back in Rainbow Rowell's Runaways. He's look at him right over there in the corner, looking all cute.
I'll have to add that in this year because actually I've never read Runaways. I've just watched the show.
Good. And Rainbow actually wrote the intro to the oversized hardcover.
Oh, cool.
So she read Vision and she was like, I'm gonna ruin the effect of the ending by having Victor come back.
Hey, it's comic books. People come back all the time. It's a downside and a benefit.
No one's ever really dead.
Eventually they will all come back. Now it's been 2 years since my husband died and he's still not back, except for as a zombie, apparently. But I haven't lost hope. Okay. One day.
Keep the faith. Keep the faith.
One day he'll come back and I will cry real tears about it. It's fine. Carly says Runaways is fun, but Young Avengers is better. And Jessica says, Maddie, read Runaways. Start with Bond. Give yourself some joy. I'll add to the list. And again, this year it's going to be me putting together a schedule. So if anyone in the chat or Freddie has any recommendations.
I have a million recommendations. I have them all lined up here.
Perfect. Just send it to me. I'll put it in my Word doc and then I'll look at that every month when I put this stuff together. And then I'll just keep bringing in Whitney too. I'll bring in both of you. Just expect to be on once a month. It's fine.
I think it could. That'll work. That's not stressful.
Except Uncle Ben. Yeah, Uncle Ben never goes back.
Right.
Some people are meant to die.
It's Uncle Ben, Captain Marvel, and I guess Virginia.
Oh yeah, she's gonna come back.
No.
Bummer. Elliot, you have been invited on the show and you've been on the show. You don't want to be on this show.
Just causing problems in the chat.
Always. Oh man, Raphael.
Boy.
Oh God. Heroes in Crisis. I don't know. I wouldn't be against it. I don't think it's very new reader friendly. That's not a book I could give to Whitney because you've got to have some knowledge of what's going on. Also, the book makes me so upset.
So several reasons.
I've done a review on the channel, and it was an hour-long live show with me and my friend Lee, and it's a lot of me trying to be nice about it, and then also being very upset. Be like, the art was really good, and then I'm just like, but then also he did this. You're not showing mental illness correctly. You've just defeated the purpose. I was so upset, man.
I was thinking of your anger the other day. I was in a bookstore, and it had been so long, and they had the wedding album, Batman and Catwoman's wedding album.
Okay, so Whitney, quick story time. We're running over time, but so a few years back, that's so weird that's been this long. In the current Batman run at the time, there's DC was really blowing up that Batman and Catwoman were going to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading it as it was going on. Tom King was a writer who wrote this, and I was so excited. And they were really pimping this up because they're listen, look at Catwoman's dress. They had matching covers. Catwoman, this beautiful dress. They came out with a playlist. There was going to be a book that's just a wedding album. And I was so excited. And then DC, the book basically, they don't get married. She runs away because Batman can't be happy or whatever. So she leaves him at the altar. Spoilers. My bad. Which is not Tom King's fault, but DC was we got to make a big deal of the wedding. It never happened. And I was furious. And I had heard about it when the issue came out. I hadn't read it yet. And so I left a voice message to my co-host of my other show. That was a Sunday. There's 2 girls on there with me. And just me what the fuck is this? And just this 10-minute long voice message. I can't believe it did this to me. I was so excited. And that was my first Tom King is my villain origin story from that moment. I don't blame him anymore. But at the time, I was villain origin story. And then in Heroes in Crisis, he killed my husband. I was Tom King's my villain origin story. Freddie. Sorry. It won't ruin the book for you. You should know they don't get married. It should make you feel better.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna get married eventually, but like, or they did. I don't know. I haven't caught up. James says DC characters never die. Just wait for the next reboot. DC loves to have confusion in their continuity, right, James? They reboot it with like a big world event every like 5 to 10 years, and they're like, none of that other stuff exists anymore. Ooh, we ran out of storylines. That some of that stuff exists now. You're like, what? What was the point of this?
Yeah, because Whitney, Marvel still has the same continuity from 1961,
which is wild.
Which is what, and they actually do draw from even further back, like from the Golden Age, from the 1930s and 40s. But DC loves to reboot their universe and just, oh, hey, you know how dedicated you were these last 5 to 10 years? Yeah, it's all gone.
It's all gone. None of it happened.
Oh,
which is it can be very exciting, but it can be a bummer because you get really invested in the storyline. It's like, no, this is gone, and you're like, oh.
They're like, you old reader, we don't care about you. We care about Whitney. She's the new reader.
Yeah, that definitely seems.
They're friendly, though. It doesn't change. Sometimes Marvel's more reader friendly.
So they make it seem like they're targeting a new reader, but really they're just trying to tell the old reader, hey, we changed this. So everything you know, you probably still need this, but you're going to read this and just let it go. You're just going to let go what we've done.
Which is the reason why the big two comic books companies, DC and Marvel, are so intimidating to get into. Mm-hmm. I'm into them now, but as I was first wanting to, after seeing Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Wonder Woman, I was like, I want to get into comic books. And I go into a comic book store, I'm like, I don't understand. Where do you start? There's like a million
literal confusion.
I have no idea where anything falls into. And there's no easy place for me to go to learn about how to do it. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't have Omar, who's also in this channel, I would have no idea. And it's just, it basically became kind of like, from this show, it's really helpful because he'd be like, hey, here's a shorter thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'd read that, like, okay, I really liked this. Now I want to read something else. And so it's just kind of like connecting the dots slowly. And so my knowledge is still very limited, but like I've really delved into character specific stuff. And through that, my awareness of the universe has opened up, which is helpful. Especially a lot of lady comics, because I really like Marvel ladies a lot because they're really cool. And all their stuff gets canceled, so it's not long. But yeah, so I'll make sure we don't run too much over. But I want to give a big thank you to both of you all for joining me. And don't leave the video yet. Once I hit end broadcast, you'll still be here. Sorry, that ruins the whole immersion of the show. Super chat. Thank you. Are you all tired? It's 11 a.m. in Korea. If we talk like this, we'll have a vision in our dreams. May Morpheus be with you. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Also, this comment was very cute.
Oh, I will definitely. This will be in, like, when I go to sleep tonight, I'll be dreaming that I'm still in this, and that like there's like some harassing thing going on in the comments, and like, oh, it'll turn into a whole horror scenario. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, I would be thankful if that's what I'm dreaming, because all my dreams are work related.
Oh well,
I'm just still in the movie set. Like that's it.
Because we're working partially from home, a lot of my dreams have just become whatever little interaction I have during the day amplified.
Oh, yeah. Raphael says Whitney and Freddie don't have adjectives. I'll make sure that like this was successful, so I think that they should come back again. I'll make sure they have adjectives for next time. Well, you have to figure out what comes to you naturally. It took me a while. I was just Maddie, but now I have this. Anyways, so thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We'll be back next week. I forgot to look up the Patreon pick.
I looked it up. It was 50.
How do you know? Oh, is that you the Patreon?
Yeah, because I put Patreon. Right. I closed the page, but it was about like 41 on Wonder Woman Dead Earth winning.
Okay.
Let me see.
It should be closed now, so. Yeah,
I think it is. And I can't see it because I have to sign in.
Well, while Freys do that, I'm going to say my other spiel, which is I hope you like this video. Comment down below if you're catching this later and tell us what you thought about Vision. Please subscribe for other videos in the future. If this is your first time catching us, which it would be very surprising to me, and if it is so, welcome. We do have a Patreon, which you can vote for a pick of the month for Over Your New Reader. You can vote for reading orders and a lot of other things. Omar's adds new tiers, so feel free to check that out. As far as like, he'll also help you with your collection, which is cool. We have Redbubble, so you can like buy a shirt or whatever. And if Freddie has found it, I'm assuming it's Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
I did find it. It's 4141 on Something is Killing the Children and Wonder Woman Dead Earth. And because I want to be on, I want to say Something is Killing the Children because my Dead Earth hasn't arrived yet.
Okay, that's fine. I'll call it right now unless it changes. But let's just say it's probably going to be Something is Killing the Children. So Freddie's coming back next week, and then Jess will be on as well. So, yeah, so catch us next week, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe, wear a mask, don't touch people or whatever.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.